Some say it's good, some say it's bad, some say it's fuel, some say it makes you fat. Nutritionists are divided on whether carbs should be part of your diet or not. But if you consume carbs, I have a question for you. How much do you think is okay to add to your diet? Can you have a bowl of rice? Can you have rice and roti? Can you also add bread for breakfast, fruits for snack? How much do you actually need? Today, we have Dr. Siddhant Bhargava on board to take us through this process. Via his company Food Darzi, Dr. Bhargava has catered to the creme de la creme of Bollywood. He caters to actors like Alia Bhatt, Ranbir Kapoor, Sara Ali Khan, Radhika Madan and Ananya Pandey, among others. Taking me as a case in point, he is going to highlight the flaws in my diet, even though I believe that I follow a relatively decent one. You may want to take notes before you go back and revisit your chart. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Siddhant. So I think the first thing that I want to talk to you about is about my approach to food, which is, so I have been working out very diligently from the past 17 years. Now, I don't really eat what's generally classified as wrong foods, but I haven't really monitored my protein, carbs and fats particularly. And it's worked for me because I've been able to keep my fat percentage under 20 and I've been able to work out it hasn't affected my performance basically. I think particularly since the lockdown happened, a lot of my work has moved online, so I'm definitely living a more sedentary lifestyle than significantly more sedentary lifestyle, to be honest. And I have felt that reflect in my body composition. Now, you asked me to do a few tests before we came in. Can you talk to our viewers about what these tests tell you?
Okay, so when you're about to, first you assess what kind of an individual that person is, whether that person is very motivated or not, because if he's not, you're going to go through a lot of loops and you don't want to stress that person out even further if he's not motivated. So I asked you to do a couple of tests. Now, the first thing that I asked you to do was your body composition analysis, which is right here. Now, body composition analysis, or a BCA, basically tells you your percentages or your breakdown of fat versus lean muscle mass in your body. Now, you're a woman, and for a lady, your normal range could be anywhere between 20 and 27, 28, maybe 18 to 28. Now, one thing that a lady needs to understand is that her body fat percentage is never going to be as low as a man's, for the sole reason that biology allows only women to bear children. And if you have to bear a child, your body has to be a conducive environment to pregnancy and actually deliver that baby. So first we need to check expectations for everybody who's female. Any individual, whether it's in this room, whether it's somebody who's watching, you will always be able to get their body fat percentage down and their lean muscle mass up. Now, the problem with the entire situation is that we as Indians, we can either starve ourselves and get our body fat percentage down, but the problem is that we will end up losing muscle as well. You're a fitness professional, right? And you train hard. That's one of the only reasons why you've been able to keep your muscle mass up, even though your diet might not be the most perfect diet in the world. So first things first, your body composition analysis, we need to have a benchmark and where we need to move towards. So that's that. Post that, I asked you to get a couple of blood tests done. Now, the reason for that is I need to understand. So see, when we're doing this diet or when we're doing this lifestyle modification, it's not going to be a 1 month thing. It's going to be a longish journey. I need to see if everything is in check. Now, I'm not going to make it sound more important than it is, but I need 3 functions checked. The first one is your HSCRP, which is your high sensitivity C-reactive protein. This basically gives me your body's generalized state of inflammation. Now, as we know, whichever activity is not conducive to survival, it's always going to lead to inflammation. Now, the unfortunate bit is that the air we breathe, the water we drink and the food that we eat, all of them cause a state of inflammation because of the amount of pollution that has sort of just taken over our life. Now, your HSCRP, if it's too high, it's going to prevent you from losing weight. That's always going to happen. So a person who's very stressed, like a lot of people say this, right? If you're very stressed, you're not going to lose weight. If you're not sleeping well, you're not going to lose weight. If you're ill, you're not going to lose weight. All of that works just the way it is because your HSCRP is going to be elevated. In your case, it was absolutely normal. So that's one tick mark out. The second thing I asked you to do was your cholesterol. Now, why your cholesterol? Most people underestimate the potency and the ability of fat to do good things in the body.
Okay.
Now that's because, see, you as a person, of course, are not eating a lot of junk. Maybe not even a little junk. Most people do. Like, for example, I had a burger last night. Now I know that that burger is going to have some amount of trans fat, is going to have a lot of saturated fat, is going to have unsaturated fat. Now all of these things for some people can elevate their cholesterol levels, because of which I will not include that much fat in the diet. Now the thing with fat is that it's two-pronged. One, yes, it can have its bad implications. Two, it can have a lot of good as well. Like, for example, fat gives you a lot of satiety, which means it allows you to eat less if you eat more fat, which means you can control your calories well better. You can even control your glucose levels better if your stomach has fat in it. But somebody whose cholesterol levels are anyways high, somebody whose triglyceride levels are anyways high, I'll try and make sure that I'm not giving him that much fat. And the third thing was your HbA1c or your glucose test. With that, I'd understand how tolerant to glucose or how resistant to glucose or how insulin resistant your cells actually are.
Okay.
So if your HbA1c, which is basically a marker of the last 3 months of your glucose levels, if that was extremely high, when I say extremely high, I mean in the pre-diabetic zone. If it was in the diabetic zone, I'd tell you go refer a diabetologist first. I'm not a diabetologist. But in the pre-diabetic zone, I'd work more aggressively on giving you more complex carbohydrates. When I say more complex carbohydrates, I mean a ratio. More complex versus simple. But I'd still try and cut down on the amount of carbohydrates I'm giving you, because I want your cells to not be that. So I'm going to explain it to you. Whenever you eat carbs, and I'll tell you why people have made carbs the new demon.
Yeah.
Whenever you eat carbs, it goes into your stomach. From your stomach, it enters your bloodstream. Now, if you've eaten carbs that have entered the bloodstream very quickly, those are called fast digesting carbohydrates. Fast digesting carbohydrates will spike your glucose level immediately. The moment your glucose level spikes, your blood only needs a certain amount, right? Because all of it has to be transported to the cells. The moment your glucose levels spike, your body is going to release something known as insulin. Perfect. Now that insulin, if you keep telling your body to release insulin over and over and over and over again, your cells react to insulin. The moment insulin comes around a cell, your cell will sort of open up and let the excess glucose from the blood into the cell.
Okay, so it gets stored as fat.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, if you keep having these insulin secretions, which means if you keep having these glucose spikes, one day the outer layer of these cells will sort of start saying that, you know, bro, too much insulin is coming my way, I'm just going to shut down.
Okay.
That's called insulin resistance.
Got it. Okay.
Which means now if you keep raising your blood glucose levels, your insulin is not being able to push that blood glucose into your cells, which means your blood glucose levels remain elevated. And that's what comes up on your blood test as high glucose levels. Eventually, a diabetic has a lot of insulin resistance, a type 2 diabetic, so his glucose levels stay up. Become a very common occurrence today. India is, by the way, soon to become the diabetic capital of the world. We have about 120 million pre-diabetics currently, which means it's become rampant. So that's what I wanted to check. Now, whenever somebody approaches me, these are the 4 things I always tell them to do. These 4 are more than enough to plan a perfectly constructed diet.
Okay, so, you know, when someone brings this body composition chart to you, do you have a reference of what it should look like? What is an ideal chart according to you?
It's pretty simple. Your body fat percentage, you want to try and maintain it below 20. For a female, probably below 24. Below 20 or below 24, you're relatively pretty lean. A person with less than 20% body fat is not going to have bundles of fat oozing out. Yes, they won't be as ripped, because to start looking ripped, you sort of need to be below 15% body fat. That's when some of your veins start showing, and maybe the first 2 structure of your abs start showing. But below 20, you're absolutely healthy. So that's what the fat percentage should look like. The second thing is your lean muscle mass. Now, a lot of people can be low on their fat percentage, but can also have a low lean muscle mass. We've all seen skinny people, right? A lot of them. Or we've also seen the skinny fat people who have extremely slender limbs, but still have a pot belly or maybe accumulation of fat on the chest. Those people have a low muscle mass, probably might have a low body fat percentage as well. So your lean muscle mass needs to be somewhere close to 20 to 25% of your entire body weight. And your fat percentage needs to be between 20 and 24 for women, below 20 for men, of your entire weight.
Right.
That's what your BCA needs to look like.
Okay.
Now, if it doesn't look like that, that's what you need to start working towards.
I know it's hard to like generalize and create a staple diet for a person, but for the average Indian person, can you give an example of how much carbs is okay to have?
Okay, very simple. Take your body weight.
Yeah.
Supposing body weight was 50 kgs.
Correct.
Protein is equal to 50 grams, which means 1 gram per kg of your body weight. Carbs is equal to 100 grams, which is 2 grams per kg body weight. Fats is equal to 0.75 grams, which is 37.5 grams of fat.
Okay.
So now this forms your base. 50 protein, 100 carbs, about 40 fat. Now on this space is where you have wiggle room. So this diet is essentially going to give you just enough so that you're still, you're feeling satisfied, etc., etc. But it's still calories which are lower than what you should be consuming. Iske upar tumhara thoda bahut chatar patar aa gaya, a little chocolate, a little fruit, a little vegetables, a little makhana, a little popcorn here and there, whatever you need, and that's your perfectly constructed diet. It's that simple. You do not need to obsess over anything more. But what you need to understand is how do you fit foods into this? So 100 grams of carbs would probably be like 5 rotis, 6 rotis. If you don't want to have that many rotis, so 3 rotis, a little bit of rice. If you want to still break it down further, you can have your sabudana, your poha, your upma, all of that comes under carbs. Protein, it was difficult to match.
Sorry, I want to ask you one more thing about carbs before you carry on, which is, so we spoke about rotis and rice and your sabudana with, possibly for breakfast. I know that there are a lot of other food groups as well that have carbs that, just go unaccounted. Can you talk about the most common things that you think people don't think are carbs but are, and they have a lot of?
I mean, one is fruits. Yeah. Like fruits is the biggest source of carbohydrates, biggest source of sugar as well. People just end up ignoring the fact that fruits are good, they're the best thing for me. They're not. But again, they're not the best thing on paper because you yourself have told me, when I say you, I mean that person has told me that sugar is bad.
Yeah.
But they said fruit is good, which contradicts itself. So when you're choosing a fruit, you want to choose a fruit which has the highest amount of vitamins and minerals with the lowest amount of sugars in them. So your berries are good, your oranges are good, your pears are good, your apples are good, but your mangoes aren't that great, your plums aren't that great, your lychees aren't that great. Of course, once in a while, everything is all right. So fruits. The second thing that do contain carbs are your starchy vegetables. Now this people know. People know that potatoes have a lot of carbs. People know sweet potatoes have a lot of carbs. But again, if it fits your macros, why do you bother about it? So that's more or less it. I think most people are scared of carbs because they think something wrong is going to happen. But the wrongest thing that carbs can do for you if you're fitting your macros is that it'll give you a bloat. That's about it. When I say a bloat, it means water retention. Carbs, basically glycogen. Carbs get converted to glycogen, it stays in your muscles.
Yeah.
Glycogen pulls water with it, makes you feel fuller everywhere. So supposing you've had a very salty meal at night or a very carb-full meal at night, in the morning, you'll realize there's a little bloating here, maybe your arms, maybe your face, your eyelids, all of that is bloated. Another thing that carbs can do for you is actually cause real bloating. So this, what I spoke about, was water retention, which most people think is bloating. But a lot of carbs, like your pulses, your lentils, your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, all of these sometimes don't digest very well in your intestine. They go to your large intestine, which is near the area where you're going to just poop it out. Wahan ka jo bacteria hota hai, it feeds on these carbs and creates a lot of gas. So a lot of people will say that, cauliflower, cabbage, cruciferous vegetables give them a lot of bloating. Too much fiber gives them a lot of bloating. So this is the second worst thing that carbs can do for you. And the third thing, which comes back to what you asked me, is that one thing that people consider to be protein and not carbs is dal. Your dals and your pulses are a carb source and not a protein source. Yeah. People fail to understand this. On paper, 100 grams of dal has 20 grams of protein, which is very similar to what paneer or chicken does. 100 grams of cooked dal is probably... So if you need to get 20 grams of protein, how will you eat so much dal? The katori that you eat probably has 4 grams of protein, maximum 5 grams of protein based on how thick you make it. Rajma might have a little more, but because chalo, rajma ke pieces tumko dikhte hain while you are eating it. But dal is carbs, dal is not protein. Sprouts can be counted as proteins because they're not as liquidy. You're having more amount of those sprouts together. So your salads and your sprouts and your kidney bean salad and your chickpea salad, they might give you a little more protein, but dal is carbs. Keeping this in mind, every Indian who's a vegetarian now will suddenly find that, oh my God, I'm actually not eating protein. आप एक average Indian जो अंडा भी नहीं खाता है और आपकी तरह पनीर भी नहीं खाता है, उसका protein intake let's calculate. He says that I eat 2 katoris of dal, one in the morning, one in the evening. 5 gram, 5 gram. That's 10 grams. Then they'll say that I drink 1 glass of milk in the morning. Maybe 8 grams of protein, giving you around 15-16 grams of simple sugars. I hate milk, by the way. I love curd. I hate milk. Milk has simple sugars, as simple as sugar. तुम्हारा कितना हुआ? 10 and 8, that's 18. Apart from this, they'll say, हफ्ते में once in a while we'll eat some paneer, discount. They don't eat soya. What else would they eat? Some of them eat a little sprouts. Some will eat curd. So when they ate one bowl of curd at night, giving you 10 grams of protein. So that's 10 plus 10 plus 8. Even an 80 kg, 70 kg, 100 kg, everybody is consuming 25 to 30 grams of protein. This is why Indians have these bellies and lean arms, because their protein intake is so low. This needs to be checked and this needs to be corrected first.
Okay.
You start correcting this, you will see so many things just become easier for you.
Okay, now help me understand. Say a person's protein intake is so low, but say they do not, consume traditionally fatty stuff, so trans fats or other things. I guess they're still going to significantly find themselves putting on weight.
100%. I'll put into perspective. You'll often find a lot of Indian women. They come to me and they say that we're 45 years old today. We were 35 years old 10 years ago, and we were 40 years old 5 years ago.
Correct.
Our weight has remained the same. I was 60 kgs then, I'm 60 kgs now. But when I look at my photos, I was like this then and I'm like this now. The reason? Their muscle mass is going down, and their fat percentage is going up. That's it. Look at a typical daily wage worker, जिनको हम मजदूर कहते हैं. I don't like that word, but look at their bodies. They don't eat proteins per se. What is their diet? They eat a lot of dal, a lot of chawal, and whatever else they can find. The reason why they're so shredded and they're so ripped, one is because they have massive quantities. When you look at them eat, the entire plate, they eat 2 meals a day, right? They don't get more than 2 meals a day. They eat 2 meals a day, and I'm also talking about farmers here. Their physical activity is so much that it does end up causing a lot of muscle hypertrophy.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it defies science. It's just that they're training so hard that their muscles are forced to grow because of the loads that they have to lift. They accompany that with a lot of carbohydrates because they have to lift so much load, and just enough protein which they get from eating so much dal and so much chawal. You'll see that they're very ripped with very low body fat percentages because clearly they always stay in a deficit. They don't get enough food to eat, but they train so hard that they're muscular. If that person was given enough protein, imagine where his physique would be. It would be crazy with the amount of labor that he puts in. You give him protein. Let's do this as an experiment. Give that person 3 months of 100 grams of protein every day and you see where his body just changes.
That's how you actually cater to celebrities, right? You put them in the gym, you make them train so hard, and you have their
Exactly,
diet.
literally that way.
Talk to us about some of the general issues that you see people. I mean, you've spoken about a lot basically, but because you've designed this for me, the general population, where do they normally go wrong?
The first thing is that they go wrong with the amount of protein that they're eating. That's paramount on top. The second thing is that they grossly underestimate the amount of calories they consume. Sunday lunch, I had 2 samosas. Samosa had a coating of maida. It had aloo inside it. I'm still okay with all of that. And then it was deep fried. The calories in one samosa probably was about 250 at least. I had 2 of those, that was 500. I had 2 pieces of jalebi, which was chashni soaked jalebi, and again fried, which was say another 200 calories. So that puts me at what, 700? And then I had my meal. Because this for me was the appetizer. When I had my meal after that, probably had like 400 calories in my meal, suddenly my lunch is 1100 calories. My requirement for the day, if it was 1800 calories, I've had 1100 calories for lunch. I had a breakfast also, which was eggs, toast and sausages, very healthy, but was still 600 calories. 1100 plus 600, 1700. मेरे 1800 में से 1700 मैंने lunch में पूरे कर लिए हैं. So people think that, we're okay. Like, एक समोसा खा लिया क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है? We ate a little bit of this क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है? But it all adds up. And when you start doing that every single day for years and years and years together, is why you're like this right now.
Sounds good. Okay. Anything else that you want to add, Doc, that maybe you think is vital in this discussion?
I think the only thing vital in this discussion, after everything that we've discussed, is portion control. Everything revolves around portion control. Your psychology, your weight putting on tendencies, your low body mass, your low body lean mass, your high fat percentage, everything boils down to portion control. I run a company called Food Darzi, right?
Yeah.
And the reason Food Darzi has worked we're the only subscription based company that's been in the Indian market for 5 years and not died and still made a name, is because we catered to the most simple instinct of an individual, which was tasty food. And we catered to the simplest scientific instinct, which was not being able to portion control. And we mix those two. So we have tasty portion control meals, which solves everything. And that's it.
Can I maybe ask you to step by step analyze my chart and tell me what I should add or shouldn't add over there?
Firstly, breakfast have to start with protein.
Okay.
I realize that you're eating eggs in the evening.
At night, yeah.
At night. Has to move to the morning.
Okay.
If it's not eggs, it could be a protein shake. If it's not a protein shake, it could be protein with curd. But you have to have a protein source right up in the morning. Why? You slept for say 10 hours, probably 9 hours, ate your last meal 3 hours before you slept. So that's 12 hours between your last meal and your new meal, your breakfast. Your body's protein, which you had at dinner, is digested, is gone. You need to replenish protein. The first meal has to have protein.
Okay, sorry, 1 second again, which is, if someone is doing intermittent fasting and they start their, day with a lunch.
Yeah, protein again.
Okay.
Has to be protein. First meal has to have protein always. It sets the base for your day as well.
Okay.
So protein, a little fat and complex carbohydrates is what breakfast should be. For people who don't like having heavy breakfast, just protein. That's the way I would have seen it. That's why eggs and bread are such a common English breakfast, because it works. You have eggs, which is giving you fat and protein. You have bread, which is giving you carbs. And this carbs, if you're choosing brown bread, is giving you slow digesting carbs, which means energy through the day. So that is what your breakfast should look like. Now for an Indian, if you're having dosa, if you're having idli, if you're having poha, if you're having upma, if you're having paratha, paratha ka simple hai, usko paneer paratha banao. Don't make it aloo, gobi, etc. Make it a paneer paratha. Plus, reduce the amount of oil that you're putting on the paratha to seko it each side, because faltu mein tumhara paratha, which was supposed to be 300 calories, 1 tablespoon of oil has 150 calories. Tablespoon ये वाला चम्मच होता है जिससे हम खाना खाते हैं.
Yeah.
Imagine people sprinkle ghee and all of that so easily on it. You're adding 150 calories ऐसे. So that part is sorted. Now if you're a person who's eating poha, upma, things like that, which are purely carbohydrate based, either you add sprouts to it, which is another good way of making your bhel also healthy. Your bhel is kurmura, puffed rice. Puffed rice is great. I love puffed rice, but add sprouts to it. जो तुम्हारे मूंग होते हैं, जो एनीवेज पानी पूरी में कभी कभी डाले जाते हैं, add it, automatically your protein content goes up by a little bit.
Is puffed rice and poha, are these do they have nutrition value?
I mean, see, the thing with carbs is that they always come with some vitamins.
Okay.
They'll come with either a vitamin B, mostly it's vitamin B. So you need to get your vitamins from somewhere. If you're not a non-vegetarian, carb sources are the only place where you can get your vitamin B. Your vitamin A will come in through your carrots or your colored fruits and vegetables. Your vitamin B will come in through these starchy carb वाले जो चीजें होती हैं. Your vitamin C will come in through your oranges, through your berries. Your vitamin D will come from the sun. Your vitamin E will come from fats. So कहीं से तुमको लेना पड़ता है. If you're a non-vegetarian, a large part of your vitamin B can just come through meat.
Okay.
So that's that. Now for these people, you have to add a protein in the morning. Now भले ही तुम दही खाओ, in cases whether you drink milk, whatever it is, but add protein. So the same goes for you, add protein. Moving to your lunch. Now your lunch is actually a pretty sorted vegetarian meal.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that you're eating roti, maybe sometimes rice, if you're not a rice eater, that's okay.
No, I do actually.
Okay. Your roti could be bajra, jawar, nachni, ragi, oats, wheat, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. For your body, all of these are carbs.
Oh, so it's not like jawar is healthier than wheat or
nothing.
Okay.
Yes, jawar has probably a little more calcium. Okay. Your ragi or nachni has a little more something else. Your bajra is a little higher on fat. इसलिए लोग कहते हैं that when you eat too much bajra, stomach भारी होता है, because it is a little higher on calories, higher on fat than the others. Okay. Your wheat is a beautiful grain. Like I love wheat. People are not gluten tolerant most of the time. Gluten intolerant most of the time.
Oh, is it?
It's become a fad, an absolute fad.
I thought about 30% only 30% were tolerant.
See,
that's not true.
It's not.
Okay.
It's completely not.
Okay.
people think that wheat makes them bloat and is why people avoid it. Plus, wheat and rice were the two biggest carb sources. I've seen so many people who say, you know, I'm not eating wheat because I want to do low carb, low carb, low carb, but they're eating jawar, bajra and nachni.
Okay.
Carb content is the same. So your meal is pretty sorted because you have roti, you have rice, that's giving you carbs again. You have paneer, you have soy, and you have sabzi, and you have dal.
Yeah.
It's a perfect meal. Like, I would change nothing over here because as long as you ensure that you're including at least paneer or soy in the form of sabzi, I'm not saying eat 200 grams of it. 60, 70 grams you khaoge, you're more than sorted. You have dal to give you another 5. You add a little cup of curd or maybe some chas, give you another 5. You're sorted.
So
That's a wonderful meal.
I just have one of them. So it'll be like either paneer or it'll be a soy dish or it'll be like a dal.
No. So let's make dal a staple.
Okay.
Let's have dal coming in no matter what because dal is good. Along with the dal, you can have say one roti, a little rice. So the rice can go with the dal, the roti can go with your sabzi and your paneer or your soy.
So there's no issue mixing rice and roti?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. Because it's as similar as if you were eating 3 rotis and you cut down 1 roti and you replace that with a little
It's
rice.
really just addition.
Exactly.
Okay.
As simple as that. So that's perfect.
Okay.
Coming to your snack meal. Now, the fact that I've put your eggs from your evening part to your morning leaves you vacant in your snack. Either you can eat a high protein snack or you can eat a high carb snack or you can eat a high fat snack.
Okay.
A high fat snack, if you've got a lot of money, would be avocado or guacamole, which most people don't.
And if you don't like the taste of them?
To gaya, 100% gaya. Another high fat snack could be nuts, so your trail mixes. Be careful with high fat snacks because it's very easy to eat a lot of calories without actually eating a lot of the snack. People have this habit, you know, they say that, you know, I eat so many nuts a day, I'm eating everything, I'm doing everything right, but I'm still putting on weight. The nuts are making you put on weight.
Okay.
Nuts are fat. They are 65 to 70% fat. The remaining 15% is carbohydrates and the remaining 15% is protein.
Let's analyze how much that can put me off by
Oh,
my
lot.
plans. So say, like I know that like traditionally peanuts and cashews are considered like the real demons.
But why not almonds and walnuts? They're the same.
Okay.
All of them are the same. Yes, they've got good things like walnuts give you monounsaturated fatty acids, almond gives you polyunsaturated fatty acids. They are wonderful. But supposing you, let's say that ये बहुत ज़्यादा large हो गया. I haven't seen a person finishing this, but maybe a little smaller than this. People do end up munching even through the day. Like I see a lot of people in offices, they get nuts from home and their dabbas aren't the smallest. You're eating about say 500 calories through your nuts if you're eating something as large as that.
Wow,
Yeah, that's
much.
a lot of calories.
Okay. That's could practically be 20% of your.
Exactly. That's the difference between losing weight and putting on weight.
Wow. Okay.
So, nuts can be had in the evening. Your high carb stuff could again be poha, upma. You could have puffed rice. You could have makhana. You could have fruit. You could have a salad. These are decent alternatives. And a high protein alternative would be maybe eggs, maybe curd with a little protein in it with some nuts and berries on top. That's usually what I would do for my snack because during the snack time I don't want to eat something very hot. I want something which is chill. So it's curd, I put a scoop of protein in it, I mix it up nicely, I choose my favorite flavor of protein, I add some berries on the top and then a little nuts on the top. That's probably about a 400 calorie snack which fits my body type perfectly. You can adjust that for your body type, would probably like a 250, 275 kilocalorie snack.
Proportion, obviously, adjusting that.
Exactly. Okay. So that's what you do for snack and then comes to dinner and you repeat your lunch. That's it.
Thank you for joining us today, Doc. It was really nice to have you here and I hope we get to connect with you soon again. Thanks.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.